The Los Angeles skyline glimmered in the late afternoon sun, golden rays reflecting off the glass of Forrester Creations, yet inside the office of the iconic fashion house, the air was thick with a tension that could almost be cut with a knife. Thomas Forrester paced back and forth, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor, each step echoing his inner turmoil. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, memories, and anxieties, every detail of his recent life spinning like a carousel. He couldn't stop. The studio that normally hummed with creativity and energy now felt oppressive, shadows stretching long across the floor as if to mirror the weight of the secret that was about to hit him like a thunderclap. He had just returned from a meeting with the design team, trying to force a sense of normalcy, trying to shake off the gnawing feeling that something significant was coming, something that might change everything he thought he knew about the people around him. And then, as if on cue, his phone buzzed insistently on the sleek mahogany desk. He picked it up with a hesitant hand, the screen lighting up with a name that made his chest tighten. Paris. Paris Buckingham. The same Paris who had been both a source of fascination and frustration for him, whose presence in his life had always been unpredictable and emotionally charged. Her name alone carried a certain intensity, a blend of sophistication and daring that always made Thomas simultaneously excited and uneasy. He answered with a tentative, "Hello," and immediately felt his pulse quicken as her familiar voice, warm yet urgent, came through. "Thomas, we need to talk. It's important," she said, each word weighted with a gravity that instantly set off alarms in his mind. He rubbed his temple, trying to steady his breathing. "Paris, what's wrong? Are you okay?" The line went quiet for a heartbeat, long enough for his imagination to run wild with possibilities, before she spoke again, this time dropping the bombshell that would shatter the fragile equilibrium he had been clinging to. "I'm in Los Angeles, and I have something you need to know. It's about your family. About you." Thomas's stomach turned, a cold, sinking feeling washing over him as he heard the words. His heart raced as he processed her meaning, the possibilities tumbling through his mind like a storm. Was it about Hope, Steffi, or someone else entirely? He felt a mix of dread and curiosity, a dangerous cocktail that had always been his undoing in matters of love and family. I don't understand. What is it? Tell me now," he demanded, his voice uncharacteristically sharp, though a tremor betrayed his vulnerability. Paris's reply was measured, almost too careful, as if she were weighing every syllable. "It's better if I tell you in person. Can you meet me? I won't sugarcoat it, Thomas. This will change everything." Thomas ran a hand through his hair, his mind a chaotic blend of fear, anticipation, and an adrenaline-fueled determination to prepare for whatever was coming. He glanced out the window at the city sprawling below, the streets filled with life that felt distant, irrelevant compared to the personal apocalypse he sensed approaching. "Okay," he said finally, his voice steadier than he felt. "Where?" Paris gave him an address, a chic rooftop cafe in West Hollywood, the kind of place where the city felt intimate and exposed all at once. Thomas ended the call, heart hammering, mind racing, and after a moment of hesitation, he grabbed his car keys, knowing he needed to confront the unknown rather than wait for it to engulf him. Driving through the city, every red light and turn felt like a countdown, each stoplight a small measure of suspense building inside him. Meanwhile, Paris was already there, sitting at a corner table, the sunlight catching her hair. In a way that made her seem almost ethereal, yet her posture was tense, her eyes betraying the storm beneath her composed exterior. She had rehearsed this conversation countless times on the flight from Paris to LA, imagining Thomas's reactions in every conceivable scenario, yet none of her rehearsals could have prepared her for the raw mix of emotions that would inevitably spill out the moment the truth was revealed. She watched as Thomas approached, the familiar lines of his face set in determination, unaware that in just a few moments, everything he believed about his family and his past would be turned upside down. When he finally reached her table, the city noise fading into a distant hum, their eyes locked, and the air between them thickened with anticipation. Paris took a deep breath, steadying herself, and began, "Thomas, what I'm about to tell you, it's about someone very close to you. Someone you thought you knew completely. Thomas leaned in, his curiosity mixing with a gnawing fear. Go on, he urged, his voice low, almost a whisper, the tension in his jaw visible even from across the table. Paris's eyes flickered, searching his, seeking the right words to convey a reality that could devastate him. It's Ridge, she said finally, and the words hit him like a physical blow. Thomas felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under him, the cafe spinning slightly as the truth began to sink in. What about Ridge? He asked, his voice trembling despite his attempts to remain composed. Paris swallowed hard, feeling the enormity of the revelation herself. He's been keeping something from you. Something about Dylan. About your father's choices years ago. Thomas's mind raced, memories colliding with speculation. Could it be about Hope? Steffi? The endless complexities of the Forrester family history seemed suddenly incomprehensible, every thread of his past now tangled in uncertainty. Paris, what exactly are you saying? His voice was sharper now, the shock transforming into a desperate demand for clarity. Paris took a steadying breath. Thomas, Dylan, she's your father's daughter. And she's been kept a secret. For years. He never told anyone, not even you. Thomas recoiled as if struck. His father's choices, his family's hidden truths, they had always been complicated, but this revelation felt seismic, an earthquake shaking the very foundation of his identity. His mind struggled to reconcile the loving, complex man he knew as Ridge with the father capable of such deception. The cafe felt suddenly claustrophobic, the bustling city outside a blur, irrelevant to the maelstrom of emotions inside him. I can't believe this. All this time, all these years, and no one told me. His voice broke, raw emotions spilling through the cracks of his carefully constructed composure. Paris reached across the table, her hand brushing his, an anchor in the storm. I know it's a lot, Thomas. But you needed to hear it from me, not from anyone else. You need to know the truth before it comes out in ways that could hurt you even more. Thomas sat back, his mind a battlefield. Anger, confusion, betrayal, and an almost childlike longing for answers warred within him. How could Ridge have kept such a secret? What did it mean for Dylan, for the family, for Thomas himself? And beneath it all, a small, uneasy flicker of responsibility began to take hold. He had to decide what to do with this information, how to act, and how to navigate the tangled web of relationships that defined the Forrester family. Paris's presence, her calm urgency, her unwavering gaze, offered a strange comfort, yet it also reminded him that some truths, once revealed, could never be unseen. The conversation stretched on, each revelation layered with nuance and emotion, and by the time they left the cafe, Thomas felt both shattered and oddly empowered, armed with a truth that would inevitably alter the course of his life. Los Angeles sprawled around them, indifferent to the private storms raging inside two of its most complicated inhabitants, as Thomas and Paris faced the fragile, tense beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with uncertainty, revelations, and the inescapable gravity of the Forrester legacy. Every street corner, every passing car, seemed charged with the unspoken drama of the city, mirroring the inner tumult of Thomas as he grappled with betrayal, love, and the undeniable pull of family secrets that would shape his choices for years to come. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the city, Thomas knew one thing with absolute certainty: nothing would ever be the same again, and the bombshell Paris had delivered would echo through his life, leaving him questioning not only his father's past but the very nature of the family he thought he knew, compelling him to confront truths that could no longer be avoided, and forcing him to redefine who he was, who he loved, and what legacy he would ultimately embrace. In the sprawling, dramatic world of the Forrester dynasty, Thomas sat in the driver's seat of his sleek black sports car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The city lights of Los Angeles flickered past him like tiny beacons of normalcy in a world that had suddenly shifted beneath his feet. Dylan's name repeated over and over in his mind, each repetition slicing deeper into the fragile sense of certainty he had carried about his family. How could Ridge keep something so monumental hidden from him? From everyone? A part of him wanted to scream, to call his father and demand answers, but another part, the part that still clung to the man he admired, hesitated. He couldn't reconcile the loving father he knew with the secret-keeping manipulator Paris had just revealed. Meanwhile, Paris walked beside him as they exited the cafe, her heels clicking softly against the pavement. She had said nothing since revealing the truth, allowing Thomas to absorb it, but her silence carried a weight that Thomas felt keenly. He glanced at her, searching her face for reassurance, for some indication that perhaps he had misunderstood, that somehow it wasn't as catastrophic as it felt. But the tension in her jaw and the steady, almost solemn look in her eyes left no room for denial. She had seen Ridge's secret with her own eyes, and now Thomas had to face the consequences. "Paris, why me? Why tell me now?" he asked finally, the question escaping in a rush of frustration and fear. His voice was barely above a whisper, yet it seemed to resonate in the cool night air, each syllable weighted with urgency. Paris stopped and turned to face him fully. The city buzzed around them, oblivious to the private storm, yet in this moment, the world had shrunk to just the two of them. "Because you deserve to know, Thomas. I couldn't keep this from you, not when it affects you this profoundly. Ridge, he wanted to protect you, maybe even Dylan, but secrets like this, they don't stay hidden forever. And when they surface, they hit harder than anything else." Thomas ran a hand through his hair, his breath shallow. His mind raced through every interaction he had ever had with Dylan. Every laugh, every argument, every fleeting glance now seemed imbued with a new, almost surreal significance. If Dylan was Ridge's daughter, then everything he thought he knew about his relationships, his family, his own identity, his place in the Forrester legacy, had been a carefully constructed illusion. "Paris, I don't even know where to begin," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "Everything I've built my life around, my understanding of my family, it's all a lie." Paris reached out and placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Not a lie, just incomplete. Ridge made a choice, Thomas, probably thinking it was for the best. But you have a right to know the truth, and you have to decide what to do with it. This isn't just about discovering a family secret. It's about how you respond, about who you choose to become in the face of this." Thomas's mind drifted back to Ridge, imagining the lines on his father's face, the moments of quiet wisdom, the moments of unspoken love. How could a man capable of such guidance also carry such a secret? The contradiction was unbearable, yet the pull of loyalty, of love for his father, anchored him in a storm of emotions he barely recognized. They walked in silence for a few moments, the energy between them charged and electric. Finally, Thomas spoke again, more to himself than to Paris. "I need to see him. I need to confront Ridge. I need answers." Paris nodded, her expression softening. "I thought you might say that. But Thomas, be careful. This isn't just a conversation. It's a reckoning. Ridge has his reasons, complicated as they may be, and what you learn could change your relationships forever." Thomas nodded, determination stealing his features. "I don't care. I need the truth, no matter how painful." As they drove to the Forrester estate, Thomas's mind continued to churn. He replayed the moments of his childhood, the arguments with Ridge, the times he had felt misunderstood, the moments of pride and frustration. Now, each memory was reframed, tinted with the shadow of a secret he hadn't even known existed. The city passed by in streaks of light, Los Angeles sprawling endlessly, mirroring the endless complexity of his thoughts. Meanwhile, Paris contemplated her own role in this drama. She had come to Los Angeles with a single purpose, to tell Thomas the truth, but she had underestimated the emotional intensity of delivering such news. She had rehearsed, imagined countless ways Thomas might react, but nothing could prepare her for the storm she could see in his eyes now. She knew this revelation would set off a chain reaction, touching not just Thomas and Ridge, but Dylan, Steffi, Hope, and the entire Forrester family. Secrets like this didn't exist in isolation. They were catalysts for chaos, for love, for betrayal, for reconciliation. And now, Thomas held the spark in his hands, a spark that could ignite a fire capable of consuming the entire family legacy. By the time they arrived at the Forrester estate, night had fallen. The mansion loomed against the dark sky, lights casting long shadows that mirrored the secrets hidden within its walls. Thomas paused at the front door, his hand hovering over the ornate handle. A surge of emotion hit him. Fear, anticipation, anger, curiosity, all jumbled into a single, almost paralyzing wave. He turned to Paris. "Are you sure about this?" "I'm sure," she said softly, her voice unwavering. "You deserve the truth, Thomas. And Ridge, he'll understand. Eventually." Taking a deep breath, Thomas opened the door and stepped inside. The familiar scent of leather, wood, and expensive cologne greeted him, but it felt alien tonight, a symbol of the life he thought he knew and the secrets that threatened to unravel it. Moments later, Ridge appeared in the hallway, his eyes widening in surprise at Thomas's sudden entrance. The tension in the room was palpable, every heartbeat amplified, every movement laden with unspoken emotion. "Thomas, Paris," Ridge said cautiously, sensing the gravity in the air. "What brings you here at this hour?" Thomas squared his shoulders, the fire in his chest demanding release. "We need to talk. About Dylan, about everything you've kept from me." Ridge's expression hardened, a mixture of guilt and resolve crossing his features. He knew this moment would come, yet nothing could make it easier. The weight of years of choices, of secrets kept to protect and manipulate, now rested squarely on his shoulders. "All right, Thomas, let's talk," he said quietly, the calm in his voice masking the turbulence within. Paris stepped back slightly, giving father and son the space they needed to confront the truth, aware that her role in this drama was both pivotal and fragile. The room seemed to shrink around them, the walls closing in as words were exchanged, confessions made, emotions laid bare. Thomas's voice was steady yet charged with raw emotion, each question a probe into Ridge's soul. Ridge's answers were measured, careful, yet laden with the honesty that only decades of love and regret could produce. And throughout it all, Dylan's name hung in the air like a ghost, a symbol of all that was lost and all that could be reclaimed. By the end of the night, the Forrester estate had witnessed yet another seismic shift in its long, complicated history. Bonds were tested, loyalties reevaluated, and the intricate web of family secrets grew ever more complex. Thomas had the truth, Paris had fulfilled her mission, and Ridge faced the consequences of choices made long ago. Yet in the world of the bold and the beautiful, no revelation is ever truly final. The drama, the love, the betrayal, and the passion, these would continue, as relentless as the city lights outside, as unpredictable as the human heart itself, and as enduring as the Forrester legacy that bound them all together in a story that never truly ends. If you want, I can take this further into a full 5,000-word monologue and dialogue version, scene by scene, almost ready for a shooting script, with intense back and forth between Thomas, Paris, Ridge, and even Dylan, keeping that authentic daytime drama tension high.